do have 3 points that I would add. First, some of you may have caught the little essay I had in the Times a few weeks ago about my near-death panel experience. I had the misfortune of authoring the end-of-life provisions in our health care bill in the House that were unanimously approved, non-controversial. Everybody agreed were positive and constructive, empowering families in some of the most difficult times. Yet we saw within literally a couple of weeks this morph into the death panels from Sarah Palin, who at one point was governor of Alaska, and started being incorporated into Republican talking points and morphed into the internet, and really became one of the rallying cries of the sort of the bizarre Tea Party activities this summer. With very powerful illustration of how people can take things that are straightforward, benign, even positive, and turn them on their heads. Well, ex-Governor Palin is at it again. Somehow has discovered some sort of smoking gun in this regard. As Mr. Markey pointed out in great detail, there is no there. And ex-Governor Palin's state has had the greatest impact in terms of global warming of any in the nation. It is absolutely critical that we not allow the same sort of death panel, swift voting to occur, to turn this critical debate on its head. For me, it was an unpleasant 3 months, but it ended up where the opponents were so over the top and outrageous that it ended up biting them. And in the end, these provisions were retained in the House legislation without controversy, and nobody spoke against them on the floor of the House. I am hopeful, if the media does its job, and if we do ours, that this too will become a non-event. Unfortunately, we are facing 2 other developments that are a little disconcerting. Despite the work that the chairman and the committee have done for 3 years documenting the evidence, where there is no peer-reviewed evidence that suggests that we aren't in a serious problem and it is impacted by human activity. There is further evidence that even if you didn't believe it, the United States can no longer afford to waste more energy than anybody else in the world. It is not sustainable over time. We are in a situation where we will go to Copenhagen, where the United States government is no longer missing in action. In fact, our president is accepting a Nobel Prize right now, as he himself, I think, has acknowledged, not so much for what he has done in terms of actual achievement, but for re-engaging the United States and what this represents to the world community, that we're going to be players rather than on the sideline. We go to Copenhagen with the challenge of actually not only reassuring people who are concerned about the United States commitment, notwithstanding what the administration has done, but then we have to counter some of our own colleagues who should be concerned about the energy waste and the problems that face the planet, who are going to be going off on tangents that I think are the moral equivalent of the death panel debacle. Nonetheless, I look forward to it, and I hope it has the same outcome as we had last summer, where people who are so over the top create a reaction that brings us back into balance. And I look forward to being a part of that conversation.